right. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Marriage Matters with Ken and Shar. It's awesome being with you. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well.
Awesome.
Really good.
Good?
Yeah, I'm great.
Great.
Had a lot of sleep this week, celebrating our anniversary week.
We took a little time off.
Yeah, we did. We stayed home this
It's been
time.
a while since we actually, what do you call it, a staycation?
Staycation.
Yeah, we stayed in and...
We usually go somewhere.
We do.
But we thought, why spend the money and go to a hotel or whatever when it's so beautiful here? Because we get some hot weather in the summer. So we thought, let's just go later.
And it really has been beautiful.
It's been perfect.
We've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it has. Weather does make a big
big diff. Oh, yeah.
On your attitude, doesn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, when it's perfect. What do you think?
And this episode kind of is the beginning of us ramping back up and getting back in the swing of things. So it's awesome being with everybody today.
It is.
We are continuing. I think last episode, we actually did an anniversary episode.
No, we did.
And celebrated our anniversary.
Wasn't that long ago, Kenny?
I know. It feels like it. We talked about how important it is just to remember this milestone of the vow we made and keeping marriage fresh. It was hopefully everybody enjoyed it.
Well, I'd like to just point that out is we did take the time, which we never really have on our anniversary. I mean, we just love to get away and not have any obligations and duties and time restraints.
Right.
That's my big thing is the time restraint. I love having to wake up in the morning and go.
Yeah. No deadlines.
No deadlines at all. So, but we did take the time this week after we did the podcast, which was really sweet. Every day we just kept remembering the stuff that God has done in our marriage. And when you choose to dwell on that and not the other stuff,
it's so true.
The other stuff is there.
And it was like the more we talked about it, the more edified and built up we both were getting, right?
And all the stuff that's not so lovely, it diminishes.
It totally.
At least in my heart.
Became really refreshing.
So I guess
that's a great way. That's what I've been, is really refreshed.
Me too.
So what we're doing today, we're back on task. This is part 4 of a series called What Love Is and What Love Does. I don't think any work on marriage would be complete. At least trying to gain a right theology for marriage would be very complete without taking a pretty hard look at 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7. Is that this wonderful passage? It's on greeting cards. It's even the unbelieving world has heard these verses many times before.
But yet we have never done any teachings on this
first time
area in the Bible, which
we've mentioned it, we've referred to it,
of course,
but taking a little bit of a dive down in here. This is the first time we've done
I'm
this.
really loving it too. Yeah. I really am. So, it's good for me.
So the first part was an introduction to the series, and then we did Love is Patient. And these are attributes. There's actually 15 of them listed in those few verses 4 through 7 of 1 Corinthians 13. These are characteristics of genuine love, or what real love is. So what we're building here, again, is a right theology, which is so important because one of the things we vowed to each other, for us 47 years ago now, was I would behave in a way that made you feel loved. Well, if I don't understand what God's love is and what the attributes or characteristics of true love are, how in the world can I put them on display towards you? I have to know this stuff, right? So, and again, there's 15 characteristics here. We're going to start combining some of them. There's a lot of crossover between them. Today is the first attribute that's from a negative standpoint. The first was love is patient, love is kind. Now we're at love does not envy.
Yeah,
right.
That's a big one. I didn't even know what that looked like.
I know. And we've talked about it this morning before we came to the mics. We've had some interesting conversation already today. It begins a long list of what love does not do and what love is not. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. It does not behave rudely. It does not seek its own. It is not provoked. It thinks no evil, and it doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing.
When I hear those, I think, oh yeah, I don't want to do any of those things.
Right on.
Because it's not good.
Right.
But then yet I don't really know what each of them really look like.
Right.
And I think that I'm excited to find out, what does this look like when I don't, and I'm not envious?
In a really practical way.
In a very practical way. Because when I read these chapters, it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to be that person. Right. Oh, I do want to be this person. Right. Depending on which verse that you're reading. Right. I don't want to be I don't want to be envious.
Well, that's what's great about these verses is they are as practical as you can get.
And I love that.
It's not the complete it's not even, I don't think it's Paul's attempt to define love, because there's some things missing here.
Right.
No greater love, as an example, has a man than this, that he lays down his life. So love is sacrificial. Well, that's not here.
Right.
Right. So it's not necessarily a definition, but it is a hands-on way to apply love in our life. So that's really what we're getting at. And I feel like there almost should be a warning label.
Okay.
Like, don't try this in the flesh. You can't do it.
Oh, okay. Got you.
This brand of love is God's love. It's always agape is the Greek word for it. And it's not human. It's not resident within fallen humanity. In other words, in my fallen nature.
Like, don't do the electrical stuff by the bathtub when you're in it. Yeah. So that's what it is. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to tell you here, don't do this in the flesh. Don't try it in the flesh.
Because you won't.
Yeah, because our flesh defaults to it, correct?
Yeah. No, our flesh defaults to envy.
Right.
To bitterness.
No, you're right.
Right?
So easily.
To selfishness.
Too easily.
Right. So we're talking about a fruit of the Spirit, which Galatians 5, where it mentions these are the fruits of the Spirit, meaning the evidences of what the Spirit of God is doing in a Christian's life. The first one is love. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, right? So this love that it's talking about can only be put on display by people who have a walk with the Lord. The Holy Spirit is working that in them, and they are becoming a reflection of how Christ has loved them.
Oh, okay. Right? So this passage of Scripture, the love chapter, is just really defining what God's love looks like.
Absolutely.
And it's not envious.
Nope.
So then we're going to...
Love is patient, love is kind, and love does not envy. Okay, so what we do know about the love of God towards one another as husband and wife, me towards you, babe, is that it's sacrificial. It has to be. It was demonstrated to us. The love of God was demonstrated to us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. It doesn't have to be earned. It's unconditional. It's all those things. And now what I think we both love about this passage is how practical it all is going to get. So here we go. Let's get a definition of envy, shall we? Okay, so I looked up a couple, and there's so many out there, but these are the two that I like the most, I think made the most sense to me, and were easy to process. So here we go. Definition number one. To envy somebody or something is a painful or resentful awareness of an advantage enjoyed by another, joined with a desire to possess that same advantage. Second definition, a feeling, a very acute feeling of discontent and resentment aroused by and in conjunction with desire for the possessions or qualities of another. Right? So the word, it's really interesting. The word here has at its root heat. The word heat. In fact, Williams translates it in 1 Corinthians 13 here as love does not boil over with jealousy. That's the really spirit of it. And I actually love that translation.
It reminds me of
what?
I'm so practical, so I'm always thinking of practical terms so I can remember things. And it reminds me of social media. So many of these influencers, when you take a deep dive into them, sometimes you're left feeling extremely envious. And it's almost something you have to possess. You have to have their life.
Well, the life they project.
Well, yes, of course. It's only what they want you to see.
Sure.
But I've talked to so many people that says, I've got to get off social media. They can't handle it. And it's the envious feelings that they get, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't like what's happening in their heart, because pretty soon they look at their life and go,
it breeds a real discontentment.
It's such a discontentment.
Yeah.
And I can understand where that's coming from. now not just your neighbors and the people you know and your friends that you can be envious of. Now it's a whole internet.
Oh yeah.
So be careful out there.
Well, and it is tragically, envy is a default of our fallen nature. It's our it's in our flesh.
It's where we go. Even if you don't, this is my thing. Even when I don't want to go there,
yeah,
I'll go there.
Oh yeah. No,
but I don't want to.
No, our flesh will go there.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. It doesn't rejoice in some attribute or some material thing that someone else has that you don't. It actually, and in fact, the word, let's talk about this word. Okay. It's really interesting because the word itself is benign. It's neither positive nor negative. It just means to boil over or to be heated up with, right? It could be translated desire. In fact, it is translated in the Bible as desire.
Okay.
In the very next chapter, 1 Corinthians 14, verse 1, Paul uses the exact same word to say, pursue love, but desire the gifts. Same word, desire there is this word to envy. So in a negative way, it's envy. In a positive way, it's a righteous desire for something.
So when you start having these feelings, sometimes it produces good things.
It's if I'm desiring the righteousness of God, I'm desiring something greater with you, babe.
Right. It spurs something on in your heart to want more of the Lord.
If I see someone else's marriage and it provokes me to desire greater with you, that's a good thing.
You're right.
Right.
But if it provokes you
to be discontent
with what you have,
to look at you a certain way, to become bitter, or resentful, now I'm burning with envy over that other person's marriage, right?
Okay.
So it's really an interesting word. I looked up opposites and there was like 20 English words trying to figure out it's not easy to think of what is the opposite of envy. It's not like the opposite of dark is light, or the opposite of up is down. That's pretty simple.
Right.
The opposite of envy, what is it? Well, I wrote 3 words. I think that probably most would embody the opposite. One is generosity. I'm generous for you. I want you to have greater things and a greater life. Goodwill is probably the best word for it. I have goodwill towards you, or friendship, just common friendship, desiring what's better for somebody. So those are the opposites of it. The Bible has a lot to say about it before we really apply it here to husbands and wives. Just it's listed in Galatians 5 verse 21 as a blatant work of the flesh. It is in our flesh. It's rooted in the flesh. We don't think it's awesome when other people have what we don't.
And I don't know about you. I don't know how you struggle with in envy, but I know in me, immediately it makes me feel dark inside. My heart dark, and I don't like.
It's a thief.
I don't like the
feeling of your joy.
I don't want that feeling.
Peace,
and I know how to combat that, and that's contentment. But it rises up, and you know it. Everyone I think out here that's listening, you know it,
right?
When you feel it, because it's a real thing. And we could be confronted with it in every area of our life, right?
Right. Listen to this, because I feel there could be people out there going, okay, this envy, it ain't that big of a deal.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Listen to this. In 1 Corinthians 3:3, it says that it's a sign of carnality in a believer's life. Quote, for where there are envy, strife, and divisions among you, are you not being carnal and behaving like mere men or fallen men?
Or our old self.
There you go. James 3:16 says that envy ushers in, get this, confusion and every evil thing.
I can relate with that.
A lot of dark stuff in people's life finds its root in envy. Right. I want what somebody else has, which means I'm discontent with what the Lord's done in my life.
Right.
And it can lead to every evil thing. In James 4, it actually attributes fighting, murders, and even war to the presence of envy in the human heart. So look, this is no joke.
This is powerful.
No, this is no
it's
joke.
A powerful emotion.
It can birth and bring forth ugly, ugly things. So let's talk about how it might apply to a husband and wife.
And in these verses that we're going over, it just says, oh, don't envy.
Right.
So how do you do that?
Love doesn't envy, man.
Love doesn't envy.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay.
How do I do that?
Yeah. How do I do that?
Well, number one, by the Spirit of God.
Exactly.
It is even right now, if somebody's recognizing, look, my heart goes there, man, then it's time to call on the Lord.
My heart goes there. I'm recognizing it right now in a lot of areas.
So I was thinking about ways to apply. I'm going to apply this 2 ways. Okay. And the first way is just between you and me, between husbands and wives. How would it, because most men, I don't think, struggle commonly with deep envy over their wives. Most men will struggle with other men. Envy another man's career, another man's status, another man's truck.
That's my husband's.
Boy, have I done.
That is my husband's issue.
Yeah. Well, the worst thing for me is that I'm at a light and I'm in my little. I drive a Hyundai. It's a little car.
We love that car.
I had to check in my man card to drive it, but when I pull up at a stoplight and I'm next to a 17-year-old kid driving a $70,000 raised Jeep or raised pickup, and he's looking down out his window at me in my little Hyundai, and I'm going, oh, this is absolutely killing me.
Does it make you feel small?
Oh, gosh. It's terrible. Talk about envy, and I can feel it in my heart. It's terrible. Okay, there's my confession for the day.
There it is.
But I think most women probably, is this not true of women too? Most women wouldn't struggle with envying commonly. I don't think.
I think
there are things in their husband's life, but probably more commonly envying what other women they think other women have.
Well, I think that women struggle with relationship envy.
Okay.
With their husband, with their marriage, also with their children.
I mean, they see what they think other marriages have that theirs lacks.
And some and they see that they do have that, and that's what they want. They think they don't realize maybe all the work that's put in there.
Not true
and they don't understand all of that. They just look at it and get envious and get it brings them to a discontentment that really bums them out.
Right.
And other women struggle with wealth. And now we're seeing the youth thing, that we struggle with the way we look. Yeah. And what we portray. It's on the outside, your physicalness, and
it can be body type, even weight and issues like that.
Everybody has their areas that they're weak in, and they want it to be different. But
okay, let's talk first about how it might.
Okay.
Because I really want to see if we can apply this to where a husband might envy his wife something, or the wife that would come between them, right? Or result in maybe some brewing bitterness or discontentment, clearly, robbing them of some unity here. And the only thing I could think of could have been, at least for me and you, babe, would be, I remember we had 3 kids pretty quick, right? And you as a homemaker, I'm leaving work every day.
Yep.
I'm in the ministry at that point. And
going to school at night.
Yep.
That didn't
a lot.
Work
and so, well. and every time I leave the house, I'm working, 60, 65, even 70 hours a week, and trying to continue my education. So I'm gone a lot, leaving you at home with 3 young children. You could have easily, I think, knowing how hard being a homemaker is and how hard women work who are homemakers, raising children at home.
Let me stop you there. Yeah. Women that aren't homemakers, full-time homemakers, and they work outside of the home.
They work hard too.
It's just really hard when you have the little kids.
Yeah. For you though, just personalizing.
Right, just personally, you're right.
Watching me leave. I'm going having lunch meetings with men and fellowship with people and leaders meetings, and I'm doing
the bathroom by yourself.
Get to talk to adults during the day.
Yeah.
So you could have easily envied me leaving that every day and being around people, adult people, and having a life like that, right?
Well,
did you go through that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I think it was worse when we moved overseas and we lived in Singapore, when you were working over there.
Right.
And you had to leave so early in the morning. We had only 1 car, and I was home with an 18-month-old and a 3-year-old.
Right.
And none of my neighbors spoke any English. And it was if you
you didn't know
think Southern
anybody in the
California
entire
is hot,
country.
you don't know what hot is until you live
Yeah, the humidity's
there.
terrible.
It was unbelievable. So, and I had no friends.
That's a tough time.
And I remember one time I had a really, really bad day, and you're gone at least 12 hours a day. And the kids were crying, and I was trying to discipline them, and I was taking them upstairs, and they're crying, saying, "We want daddy." I'm crying, saying, "I want daddy." And I want anything besides what I have right now. And I put them down for their nap, and I called you. I remember I called you, and I'm crying, and I was saying, "I can't. I'm." And you go, "I can't talk right now because I'm in the middle of a huge meeting." And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me."
See,
I
that to
think
me is tough.
it was tough.
Just listening to that.
There were times that I thought, I can't do this, and I want his life so badly.
Yeah.
Not realizing what your whole life entailed, but actually mine was a little more difficult at that time. But
absolutely.
yeah, I went through that multiple times.
And then I thought, okay, is it possible that there's a husband out there somewhere that it would be prone to, once the kids are grown and gone, that housewife and her life is relaxing some, and now you're working those 70-hour weeks,
right?
And she gets to sleep in the morning. The kids are grown and gone, and she's shopping with friends and having lunch, and
or
you're
having
grinding.
Some options.
You're
Options.
now in your 50s and 60s and still grinding, and you're going to grind for another 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And is there opportunity there for envy to settle into a man's heart where he's envying the life that his wife has?
Right.
And I thought, you know what? I bet you that goes on out there.
It can happen.
Yep.
It can happen.
So I think
that's just a few. No, that's just one area.
Well, even the thought of me in ministry. Look, I preached for 40 years, right? So I'm up on a platform and getting the approval of men, right? And after church, everybody wants to shake my hand as they leave the church. It goes out into the parking lot, and you operated completely behind the scenes. No one had any idea what it took for you to prop me up so that I could do what I was doing. Right. And all the behind the scenes, even toll that 40 years or 42 years of ministry life can take on a wife. It could have been easy for you to envy just that status, or again, that approval of men.
Right. No, you're right.
I think it's really, when you stop and think about this, maybe it's more of a reality than maybe we think. Are there things about a wife's life or a husband's life that the other envies? Love, here's the point. Love doesn't do that. There's goodwill there. And I really can say that over those years of ministry, honey, you always put me out there. I mean, it was always, you cheered me on. In fact, you were my biggest cheerleader over that. And it could have gone the other way where you envied. Again,
there were definitely times. I mean, it was tough.
I never saw them. I mean, you did a great job of battling through, Now, another way to apply this too, and we'll kind of wrap up with this thought, is again, couples envying other couples.
Right.
And I think a lot of this does go on.
It does go on.
I mean, we've had these conversations with couples that we've been either counseling or working with that say, well, we're not like you guys. Like, God clearly dinged you guys with a magic wand and threw fairy dust on you and threw good marriage fairy dust on you. And that's why you have what you have. You're not down here with us folk who have to work real hard at this. And I think there can be, you were talking earlier about women who see another woman's marriage and would envy that.
Right.
I think couples that envy homes that others has, or retirement portfolios or those kinds of things. This is all a struggle that we need to be aware of.
And I think a good reason that we are even talking about those kind of things is it can make your marriage so difficult, because whichever one is looking out and is envious of, let's say, another marriage or financial things other people have, you go home and you look at each other.
Oh man.
And you're just not happy.
The discontentment that can breed.
It just breeds.
And it robs you of any vision for your own marriage.
Exactly right.
All you're doing is brooding or lamenting what you don't have that you think you see in others.
And if we had that, then we would be happy. If we had this, we would be happy. No, you need to have a heart adjustment and be content with what you do have. And if you do see those good things out there, that you can offer goodwill and desire. And pray for put the work and pray for your own marriage.
Absolutely.
And build it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can do. It should spur you to jealousy in a good way. Like, oh yeah, I want to have that. How do I get that?
Well, that's Paul used that same word, and it's envy in the passage in 1 Corinthians 13. But another point, he says, I think it's in 2 Corinthians. He's writing to the same church, but he says, oh, I desire you to do well in the Lord. So he had this godly desire for them. Again, that's a positive manifestation of the same word, right? It's an intense desire for something, or a burning. It has that connotation to it. From the negative side, you can feel it swelling up. Begin to boil, as Williams translated it, to boil over with envy for somebody or something.
I guess it's when you start having these feelings, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
Is if you're going to go to the spirit or go to your flesh.
Well, and again, love simply doesn't do it.
Right. It doesn't. It goes more it goes to the spirit.
Love simply doesn't do it.
You're
love, for me to love you is to not envy anything that you have that I don't, but only to be pleased with what God's done in your life and to celebrate it and to rejoice over every good thing that you possess in the Lord or that the Lord's ever done in your life. For you to love me would mean the same thing, that we celebrate what the good work of God in each other's lives. And we really genuinely rejoice over every good thing we see in somebody else, particularly our husbands and our wives. The cure for it, you mentioned it early. I don't know if anybody caught it, but the antidote or the cure for envy is always to get content with what the Lord's doing in your life right now. Be at peace with the progress that the Lord is making in your life. So we would say to anybody out there that is listening that if there's an envy, some kind of manifestation of envy in your heart, whether that's towards your husband or wife, or you as a husband and wife envying another couple or another family or someone else's children or that weird stuff that goes on, is look right now, settle your heart and get content in what God is doing right now in your life. He's doing something good. God is always doing something good in your life. Celebrate that. This envy will rob you of any real vision for your married life if you're not careful.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wow, this was
good.
I've never done a little bit of a study on just envy.
Well, we'll keep drilling down into this thing.
What it means. It's another area that I can invite the Holy Spirit in to start.
Boy, true that.
Convicting me when I start going there.
Well, here's the great thing that the Bible says in Romans 5:5 there, it says that this love, this unique, special love of God has been shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is really hopeful. That means we can love like this.
Right.
I can rejoice over every good thing in your life, honey, and be so thankful and grateful. And whatever you possess that I don't, and however that works out, I just celebrate every good thing that the Lord's doing in your life.
Yep.
We can love each other that way. And I hope that, again, this ministers and changes the way people are thinking. Again, all we're doing is trying to get a right theology for what it means to be a married person and to be building a marriage that honors and glorifies God here.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
All right. Hey, it's been great being with you. Thanks for listening. We can't wait to get back with you again. So until then, God bless you. He loves you guys so much.
Bye-bye.